Former Trump staffer Cliff Sims' new book, Team of Vipers, comes out next week, but in an exclusive excerpt in Vanity Fair, he discusses one viper in particular, Kellyanne Conway, whom he calls a cartoon villain brought to life. Sims writes, quote, her agenda, which was her survival over all others, including the president, became more and more transparent. Once you figure that out, everything about her seemed so calculated. She seemed to be perennially cloaked in an invisible fur coat, casting an all-knowing smile as she collected 98 Dalmatians with only 3 more to go. And he describes an instance where he discovers Conway's tendency to leak. A lot, in his words. Quote, Kellyanne was sitting at her desk texting away, and since her iMessage account was tied to both her phone and her laptop, I could inadvertently see every conversation she was having. Over the course of 20 minutes or so, she was having simultaneous conversations with no fewer than a half a dozen reporters, most of them from outlets the White House frequently trashed for publishing fake news. Journalists from the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, Politico, and Bloomberg were all popping up on the screen. And these weren't policy conversations or attempts to fend off attacks on the president. As I sat there trying to type, she bashed Jared Kushner, Reince Priebus, Steve Bannon, and Sean Spicer all by name. Nick, Jim Crean are still here. Let me read her statement in fairness to Kellyanne Conway. The real leakers, past and present, get much more positive press than I do. While it's rare, I prefer to knife people from the front so they see it coming. According to a source familiar with the situation, the statement was drafted in consultation with her husband, George Conway. I got nothing.
I was going to say something. Look, I have to say, like, this is a guy, you know, Cliff Sims, I don't know who he is, I don't know him, but he is attacking somebody for being leaker in a tell-all memoir about the White House. Like, pick a lane, dude. I mean, I think probably a lot of people in that White House talk to reporters. I'm sure Conway does, because that's part of her job. And we thank God
that they do.
Yeah, and the whole world is better informed for it. But there's something, I mean, these score-settling memoirs, the only thing that strikes me is, in normal times, these memoirs have some score settling as like a subpart or like a sub-theme. It's very Trumpy for the whole memoir to be about the score settling, which is what the title says.
Let's pull back the curtain a little bit in terms of how we do our jobs and how we did our jobs as sort of government officials and political operatives. I mean, there is a line of communication between people in the White House and the press. And what's interesting, put that excerpt up again. The list of people she trashes doesn't include the president. She's accused of trashing Reince Priebus, Steve Bannon, who've both been fired. So, you know, maybe she had a point. And again, I'm staying in the den of Vipers theme, okay? I'm not saying this is a good place to work. I'm just saying that you make a good point. Someone writing a tell-all and profiting by accusing someone else of telling all is sort of like what they say about Michael Cohen, right? You know?
Yeah, I mean, look, also, if you worked for President Trump, I suspect there are times when you would find it frustrating.
I'd be
perhaps you'd want to express that to other colleagues. I actually have always thought that Conway has kept a pretty low profile in some respects in this White House. So it's interesting. But again, like, everyone loves to read these books. They're juicy. They're fun. I'm sure it'll sell well. But it's hard to imagine that this one person is the source of all evil leaking in the White House.
One of the places where and just again, how we do our jobs, you know, we reach out to people in the White House. One of the times when my phone didn't stop ringing was the Rob Porter scandal. Yeah. When a White House staffer with some of the most confidential information literally in his hands, he's a staff secretary, it's a terrible name for the job, right? It's one of the most senior positions. Everyone was blaming each other. It really was a circular firing squad. I mean, this White House, one of their problems is that what keeps a White House from not leaking is loyalty to the principal and one another. There is none of that in this White House.
Well, you know, all White House is a reflection of the top, right? He has no loyalty to them either. He's hammering them, he's firing them, he's doing all this thing. But, you know, so Donald Trump's White House leaks to high heaven. That's not exactly front page news. I kind of agree with you. On the other hand, what it is explaining is an absolute dysfunctional White House that can't do the block and tackling of anything. Can't make a deal on the government, can't run the government, can't have a message, can't figure out what it's doing. And that's the bigger story here, right? You can be salacious salacious and it's kind of fun to see who's everyone trashing, but it's really about a White House so broken it can't do the basics.
It explains a lot, right, Craig?
Exactly. It's a dysfunctional White House. It's like a Lord of the Flies atmosphere, and they all leak. Every one of them leaks,
Including the president.
Right, and fish rots at its head. Look, they leak to attack their opponents. They leak to talk to the president on TV. They leak, they leak for every single thing to save their own behinds. But here's the problem. The problem is it's incredibly dangerous what they're doing. It's not safe. It's not good. I mean, it might be good to understand what's going on with the White House, but there are certain things that we should not be hearing about because it creates a dangerous atmosphere for us.
But don't stop calling.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.